What if the reason your vision has been declining has nothing to do with age and everything to do with what your retina has been starving for? Here is something your eye doctor probably never told you. Your retina is one of the most metabolically active tissues in your entire body. It burns through antioxidants faster than almost any other organ. And when those antioxidants run out, the damage starts. Slowly at first. A little blur at the edges, difficulty reading in low light, colors losing their sharpness. Then macular degeneration, cataracts, glaucoma, things we have been told are just inevitable. But what if they are not inevitable? What if the people who came before us, who ate from the garden and the field and the wild, were feeding their eyes exactly what they needed without ever knowing the science behind it? And what if we stopped doing that the moment we traded real food for processed food? Today I am going to show you 20 plants that deliver the exact compounds your retina needs to stay sharp, stay clear, and stay strong after 50. Starting with the ones that will surprise you most. Stick around because number 1 on this list contains a compound found nowhere else in any food on Earth, and it is the only compound ever documented to cross the blood-retinal barrier directly and accumulate inside retinal tissue. And number 2 has been used specifically for eye health for over 2,000 years, and its name tells you exactly what it does. Number 1, saffron, containing croxetine, the only dietary compound ever documented to cross the blood-retinal barrier and accumulate directly inside retinal photoreceptor cells, with human clinical trials showing measurable improvement in retinal function in people with age-related macular degeneration. Crocus sativus, the spice that has commanded premium prices for 3,000 years, is not valuable only because it is rare. The crocetin and crocin compounds in saffron have a molecular property that no other dietary compound shares: the ability to cross the blood-retinal barrier, the protective membrane that separates the retina's blood supply from its delicate neural tissue, and accumulate directly inside the photoreceptor cells that process light. A randomized controlled trial published in Investigative Ophthalmology and Visual Science found that saffron supplementation at just 30 milligrams daily over 90 days produced measurable improvement in retinal function in early AMD patients. A follow-up study showed the improvements were maintained at 2 years with continued supplementation. The mechanism appears to involve protection of photoreceptor cells from oxidative stress, the same cells that die irreversibly in macular degeneration. Traditional Persian, Indian, and Ayurvedic medicine all prescribed saffron specifically for eye complaints long before any of this was understood biochemically. A small pinch of saffron steeped in warm water or milk daily. That is the dose the clinical trials used. The most valuable spice in the world is also, it turns out, one of the most specifically targeted natural compounds for the tissue that is failing in most people over 50. Number 2 is so specifically associated with eye health that its name in Latin is literally a description of what it was used for. Healers have been prescribing it for inflamed, strained, and weakened eyes for over 2,000 years across European, Ayurvedic, and Chinese traditions. And modern phytochemistry is confirming what all 3 arrived at independently. Number 2, eyebright, Euphrasia officinalis, whose name is its diagnosis, containing aucubin and caffeic acid with documented anti-inflammatory effects on ocular tissue, and used as a specific eye remedy across European, Ayurvedic, and Chinese medicine for over 2,000 years. Euphrasia, from the Greek Euphranion, to gladden, to cheer, to brighten. Medieval European herbalists named this plant for what it did to eyes. Small, delicate, growing in meadowgrass, it was prepared as a compress, a wash, and a tea for virtually every eye complaint: inflammation, redness, strain, excessive tearing, sensitivity to light. Traditional Ayurvedic medicine used it under the name Nayantara. Traditional Chinese medicine used related species for similar applications. 3 medical traditions, no contact with each other, same plant, same use. The iridoid glycoside aucubin in eyebright has documented anti-inflammatory and antioxidant activity in laboratory research. Caffeic acid contributes additional antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. Modern herbalists use it specifically for eye strain in the age of screens. The dry, aching, light-sensitive fatigue that affects people over 50 who spend hours reading and looking at devices. A strong cold infusion of dried eyebright herb used as an eye wash or compress, or the dried herb prepared as a tea taken internally. The plant has been named for its purpose for 2,000 years. That naming was not accidental. Number 3. Bilberry. The wild European blueberry, whose anthocyanins are more concentrated than cultivated blueberry, documented to improve dark adaptation and night vision, and famously consumed by British Royal Air Force pilots before night missions during World War II. Vaccinium myrtillus. During World War II, British RAF pilots reportedly consumed bilberry jam before night bombing missions, claiming it sharpened their night vision. For decades, this was dismissed as wartime folklore. Then researchers began examining the anthocyanin content and mechanism, and the story became considerably more interesting. Bilberry anthocyanins, particularly delphinidin and cyanidin glycosides, cross the blood-retinal barrier and accumulate in the retinal pigment epithelium, the layer that supports and nourishes the photoreceptors. Animal and human studies have shown improvements in dark adaptation, the ability of the eye to adjust from bright to dim light, which is exactly what the pilots were describing. This matters for people over 50 because dark adaptation declines with age. The difficulty seeing clearly when moving from a lit room to a dim one, or driving at night, is one of the earliest and most disruptive symptoms of retinal aging. Bilberry anthocyanins appear to support the rhodopsin regeneration cycle, the process by which rod cells restore their light-sensitive pigment after light exposure. Wild bilberries have higher anthocyanin concentrations than cultivated blueberries because wild plants produce protective pigments under harsher conditions. Freeze-dried bilberry extract, or fresh or frozen bilberries when available, taken consistently over months rather than occasionally. Number 4. Sea buckthorn, containing omega-7 palmitoleic acid that addresses dry eye syndrome at the tissue level, the most common eye complaint in people over 50, by supporting the integrity of the meibomian glands that produce the tear film protecting the corneal surface. Hypophae rhamnoides. Dry eye syndrome affects over 300 million people worldwide, and its prevalence increases sharply after 50, particularly in postmenopausal women. It is not merely an inconvenience. Chronic dry eye causes corneal microabrasions, increases infection risk, accelerates lens clouding, and significantly impairs visual quality in ways that standard eye drops address symptomatically without treating the underlying cause. The omega-7 fatty acid palmitoleic acid, present in sea buckthorn berry and seed oil at concentrations found in almost no other plant source, supports the integrity of mucous membranes and secretory glands throughout the body. The meibomian glands lining the eyelids produce the lipid layer of the tear film. When these glands atrophy, as they do with age, hormonal change, and chronic screen use, the tear film breaks down and dry eye develops. A Finnish randomized controlled trial found that oral sea buckthorn oil supplementation significantly reduced dry eye symptoms and improved tear film quality compared to placebo over 3 months. 2 to 4 grams of sea buckthorn oil daily in capsule form, or added to food. This is not treating a symptom. It is restoring the tissue that produces the protection your cornea depends on. Number 5. Ginkgo biloba, the oldest tree species on Earth, containing flavonoids and terpenoids that improve microcirculation to the retina and optic nerve. With clinical evidence for slowing visual field loss in normal tension glaucoma, the form that affects most people who lose vision to glaucoma after 50, Ginkgo biloba has survived essentially unchanged for 270 million years. It survived the Hiroshima atomic bomb, the first living thing to resprout in the blast zone. The extracts from its leaves have been studied more extensively than almost any other botanical, and the vascular mechanisms are well established. Ginkgo flavonoids improve blood viscosity, enhance microcirculation, and reduce the platelet aggregation that can impair blood flow through the smallest capillaries, including those supplying the retina and optic nerve. This matters specifically for glaucoma, because normal tension glaucoma, the variant where optic nerve damage occurs despite normal intraocular pressure, is now understood to involve compromised optic nerve blood flow as a primary mechanism. A study published in Ophthalmology found that Ginkgo biloba extract supplementation over 4 years significantly slowed visual field deterioration in normal tension glaucoma patients compared to placebo. For macular degeneration, the improved retinal microcirculation means better delivery of the oxygen and nutrients the photoreceptors burn through at such exceptional rates. 120 milligrams of standardized ginkgo extract daily. The oldest tree on Earth has been supporting human circulation for thousands of years of traditional Chinese medicine. Modern ophthalmology is confirming the mechanism. Number 6. Calendula. The marigold whose petals are the primary commercial source of lutein used in virtually every eye health supplement on the market, meaning the compound in the expensive capsule your eye doctor may have recommended is extracted from this garden flower. Calendula officinalis and Tagetes erecta, pot marigold and African marigold are the primary industrial sources of lutein for the supplement market. The vivid orange and yellow petals are exceptionally rich in lutein esters, the bound form of lutein that research has shown may actually deliver lutein to macular tissue more efficiently than the free lutein form found in leafy greens. Your macula, the small central zone of your retina responsible for the sharp detailed vision you use for reading, recognizing faces, and seeing fine detail, is constructed from lutein and zeaxanthin. These pigments are not incidental. They are the structural material of macular pigment, the protective layer that filters blue light and neutralizes free radicals before they can damage the photoreceptors beneath. When macular pigment density declines, as it does progressively with age and is accelerated by blue light exposure, smoking, and poor diet, central vision begins to deteriorate. The AREDS-2 clinical trial, the largest eye supplementation study ever conducted, found that lutein and zeaxanthin supplementation significantly reduced progression to advanced AMD. The supplement industry extracts its lutein from marigold petals and sells it back at considerable markup. Growing calendula in a garden or sourcing the dried petals directly gives you the same compound at a fraction of the cost. Add dried marigold petals to warm water as a tea. The petals are edible and can be added to salads and soups. Quick pause here. If what we're covering today resonates with you, the idea that real food and real plants can do what prescriptions often cannot, there are 3 complete practical guides in the first pinned comment below. A full system for using plants to take charge of your health naturally from the ground up. There is a bonus inside that most people do not expect. Link is pinned below. Now let us keep going. Number 7. Turmeric. With a 2024 study confirming that curcumin protects retinal ganglion cells from oxidative stress-induced death, the specific mechanism of cell loss in glaucoma, through NRF2 pathway activation that tells your own eye cells to produce more protective enzymes. Curcuma longa. The compound curcumin has been studied across virtually every inflammatory disease category, and the retinal ganglion cell research is among its most compelling recent findings. Retinal ganglion cells are the neurons that transmit visual signals from the retina to the brain via the optic nerve. In glaucoma, these cells die progressively, and the visual field loss is permanent because these neurons do not regenerate. The question researchers have been asking is whether any compound can slow or interrupt this cell death process. Curcumin activates the NRF2 pathway, the same master antioxidant switch that sulforaphane in broccoli activates, telling retinal ganglion cells to upregulate their own protective enzyme production. A 2024 study published in Antioxidants found that curcumin significantly reduced retinal ganglion cell death in oxidative stress models through this mechanism. Earlier research found that topical curcumin eye drops improved retinal function in early AMD patients in a human pilot trial. The absorption challenge with curcumin is well established. It is poorly absorbed alone. Combining turmeric with black pepper increases curcumin bioavailability by approximately 2,000% through the piperine mechanism. Cook with turmeric and black pepper together in fat-based dishes, exactly as traditional Indian cuisine has done for centuries, without knowing the mechanism, and you are delivering curcumin to your retinal tissue in its most bioavailable form. Number 8. Dandelion. The plant you have been spending money to eliminate from your lawn, containing beta-carotene at levels rivaling carrots and lutein that feeds the macular pigment your central vision depends on, available for free in virtually every yard in the temperate world. Taraxacum officinale. Young dandelion leaves in spring contain beta-carotene concentrations that rival carrots, the plant most people associate with eye health, alongside lutein, vitamin C, and the bitter compounds that stimulate bile production and fat absorption, which is precisely what you need to absorb the fat-soluble carotenoids the leaf is carrying. The plant is almost self-optimizing for its own nutrient delivery. The bitterness that makes people reluctant to eat it is the same property that improves absorption of the compounds it contains. Traditional food cultures across Europe and North America harvested dandelion greens in early spring as one of the first fresh foods after winter, not as a health strategy, but because they were available, they were free. And the people who ate them felt restored after months of limited fresh food. What they were experiencing was a concentrated delivery of carotenoids and vitamins to tissues that had been undersupplied through winter. The eye was one of the primary beneficiaries. Harvest young leaves from the center of the plant before it flowers when they are least bitter. Sauté with garlic and olive oil. Mix into salads with a strong dressing. Do not spray them with herbicide. The free medicine growing in your yard does not ask anything of you except that you recognize it. Number 9. Goji berries, one of the highest dietary sources of zeaxanthin available, used in traditional Chinese medicine specifically for eye health for over 1,000 years, with randomized controlled trials in humans showing measurable increase in macular pigment optical density with consistent consumption. Lycium barbarum. The classical Chinese medical text described goji berries as nourishing the liver and brightening the eyes, a specific clinical application based on 1,000 years of empirical observation. Modern ophthalmology researchers took that traditional use seriously and designed clinical trials to test it. The results confirmed what the traditional practitioners had documented through outcome observation alone. Goji berries are one of the most zeaxanthin-rich foods available from any source. Zeaxanthin concentrates specifically in the fovea, the very center of the macula, where the sharpest central vision is processed. It is the pigment your eye uses at the exact point of focus. A randomized controlled trial published in Optometry and Vision Science found that regular goji berry consumption measurably increased macular pigment optical density. The density of the protective layer at the center of your vision, compared to placebo in healthy older adults. Additionally, goji berry polysaccharides appear to have direct neuroprotective effects on retinal ganglion cells through mechanisms that are still being characterized but have generated serious scientific interest. 25 grams of dried goji berries daily, a small handful, soaked in warm water, or eaten directly. This is the dose used in the clinical trials. 1,000 years of traditional use followed by 21st century clinical trials confirming exactly the mechanism the traditional practitioners identified by observation. That convergence means something. Number 10. Orange bell pepper, containing the single highest concentration of zeaxanthin of any commonly available food. The pigment that is the structural material of the fovea, your sharpest point of vision. And you are literally seeing that pigment when you look at the color of the pepper. Capsicum annuum in its orange form. The vivid orange color of the pepper is the zeaxanthin itself, the identical pigment that your macula concentrates in its most critical zone. You are quite literally seeing the medicine on the outside of the food before you eat it. A single orange bell pepper contains zeaxanthin concentrations that are among the highest of any measured food source, alongside substantial vitamin C for vascular protection and additional carotenoids across multiple protective pathways. The combination is exceptional. The specific pigment your fovea is constructed from, the vitamin that protects the blood vessels supplying the retina, and an antioxidant profile that supports the entire visual system simultaneously. Unlike the leafy greens, orange bell peppers eaten raw deliver their vitamin C intact. Heat destroys vitamin C, while the zeaxanthin is well absorbed with any fat present in the meal. Eat them raw alongside food containing fat for optimal zeaxanthin and vitamin C delivery simultaneously. Slice them, add them to salads, eat them with hummus. Traditional Mediterranean and Hungarian cuisine built peppers into the daily diet not because anyone analyzed the zeaxanthin content, but because the people who ate them consistently were the people whose eyes remained clear. The color is the signal. When you see vivid orange in a vegetable, you are seeing the compound your macula is made of. Number 11. Corn. A zeaxanthin specialist with the fovea at the very center of your macula, concentrating zeaxanthin specifically rather than lutein, and traditional Mesoamerican nixtamalization processing shown to enhance the bioavailability of the nutrients corn contains. Zea mays. The fovea and the surrounding macula do not use lutein and zeaxanthin interchangeably. The fovea itself, the pinpoint of sharpest central focus, concentrates zeaxanthin specifically, while lutein dominates the surrounding macular area. So zeaxanthin is particularly critical for the sharpest, most detailed central vision that people over 50 most notice declining when they read or recognize faces. Yellow corn is one of the most reliable plant sources of zeaxanthin available. Traditional Mesoamerican cultures who depended on corn as a dietary staple were consuming zeaxanthin in significant quantities daily. The nixtamalization process, soaking and cooking corn in an alkaline solution, was developed empirically over generations and enhances the bioavailability of nutrients in ways that modern nutritional science has only recently fully mapped. The deeper yellow the corn, the higher the zeaxanthin content. White corn contains significantly less. Eat fresh yellow corn in season with butter. The fat is essential for fat-soluble carotenoid absorption, and the traditional practice of eating summer corn with fat was nutritionally optimal for your macular pigment without anyone having to understand why. Number 12. Broccoli, whose sulforaphane activates the NRF2 pathway, the master switch that tells your retinal cells to produce more of their own antioxidant enzymes rather than simply receiving antioxidants from outside, and whose research profile for retinal ganglion cell protection is among the strongest of any vegetable. Brassica oleracea var. Italica. Most foods deliver antioxidants to your eye tissue passively. Sulforaphane does something more sophisticated. It activates NRF2, a transcription factor that functions as a master regulator of your cell's own antioxidant and detoxification systems. When NRF2 is activated, your retinal cells begin producing more glutathione peroxidase, superoxide dismutase, and catalase, the internal enzymes that protect cellular structures from oxidative damage. The effect is amplifying and self-sustaining in a way that passive antioxidant delivery cannot achieve. Research on retinal protection has shown sulforaphane to be specifically neuroprotective for retinal ganglion cells, the neurons connecting eye to brain that are lost irreversibly in glaucoma. Traditional Italian kitchen gardens centered brassicas for centuries, not because anyone understood sulforaphane. The compound was not identified until 1998, but because the people who ate them consistently were healthier. Lightly steam broccoli. Do not boil it. Overcooking destroys the myrosinase enzyme that activates sulforaphane. Or chop it and let it sit for 40 minutes before cooking. This allows preformed sulforaphane to accumulate before heat is applied. That detail alone makes a meaningful difference in how much of the active compound reaches your retinal tissue. Number 13. Red bell pepper. Containing more vitamin C than multiple oranges in a single pepper, the vitamin concentrated in the aqueous humor of the eye at levels 20 to 70 times higher than in blood plasma specifically to protect the lens from the oxidative stress that causes cataracts. Capsicum annuum in its red form. A single large red bell pepper contains approximately 190 milligrams of vitamin C, nearly 3 times the amount in an orange. The eye concentrates vitamin C in its aqueous humor, the fluid inside the eye, at levels 20 to 70 times higher than in blood plasma. This concentration is deliberate. The lens of the eye has no blood supply and is entirely dependent on the aqueous humor for its antioxidant protection. Vitamin C in that fluid is protecting the lens from the oxidative stress that leads to cataracts, the clouding of the lens that is the leading cause of vision loss globally and that accelerates significantly after 50. Diabetic retinopathy, one of the most common causes of blindness in people over 50, is fundamentally a disease of blood vessel breakdown. Vitamin C is essential for collagen synthesis, and collagen maintains the structural integrity of the delicate retinal blood vessel walls. Red bell peppers also carry carotenoids, including lycopene and additional pigments, making them a dual-action eye food. The traditional Mediterranean diet built peppers into daily cooking. The nutritional science has now mapped exactly why that dietary habit was protecting the eyes of the people who followed it. Number 14. Blueberries, whose anthocyanins cross the blood-retinal barrier and accumulate in retinal tissue, with studies showing improvements in dark adaptation and protection against retinal stress that explain why RAF pilots were reaching for bilberry jam before night missions. Vaccinium corymbosum, the anthocyanins, the deep blue-purple pigments that give blueberries their color, cross the blood-retinal barrier and accumulate in retinal tissue where they provide antioxidant protection through multiple pathways simultaneously. Animal studies and human trials have confirmed improvements in dark adaptation, the critical ability to see in low light that declines with age and is one of the most common and disruptive complaints in people over 50. The microvasculature of the retina, the tiny delicate capillaries that are among the first casualties of metabolic aging, appears to benefit from consistent anthocyanin intake through their strengthening effect on capillary walls. Anthocyanins have a particular affinity for blood vessels, interacting with the collagen matrix that maintains capillary integrity. The broader picture is antioxidant protection through multiple pathways simultaneously across retinal tissue that is under constant oxidative pressure from light exposure. Eat blueberries fresh, frozen, which preserves anthocyanins well, or freeze-dried. Add them to yogurt and oatmeal. Make them a daily habit rather than an occasional addition. The compound effect over months and years is what builds the protective accumulation in retinal tissue that clinical research measures. Number 15. Carrots, whose beta-carotene reputation earned in wartime is biochemically real, converting to vitamin A that is a direct structural component of rhodopsin in the rod cells responsible for low-light vision, with a practical nuance about conversion efficiency that most sources never mention. Daucus carota. The wartime story about British pilots and carrots was partly propaganda designed to conceal radar technology, but the biology that made the story believable is real. Beta-carotene converts in the body to vitamin A. Vitamin A is a direct structural component of rhodopsin, the photopigment in rod cells that enables vision in low light. Without rhodopsin, rod cells cannot function. Night blindness is one of the earliest and most measurable signs of vitamin A insufficiency, and it is far more common in people over 50 than most realize because aging impairs the conversion process. Which brings the important nuance. Beta-carotene converts to vitamin A at a ratio that varies significantly between individuals, and the conversion efficiency declines with age. Some people convert efficiently. Many over 50 do not, particularly those with certain genetic variants or compromised fat absorption. Cooking carrots in fat significantly improves beta-carotene absorption and conversion. Roast them with olive oil. Cook them into soups. The practical application is simple. Eat carrots regularly, always with fat, and understand that the carrot's contribution to your night vision is both real and dependent on the fat that carries its active compound to the tissue that needs it. Number 16. Sweet potato, the most beta-carotene-dense food available per serving, with a single medium-cooked sweet potato delivering 15 to 20 milligrams, and used in public health programs to address vitamin A deficiency because the evidence base for its impact on eye health is among the strongest of any food intervention ever studied. Ipumoea batatas. A single medium sweet potato cooked delivers approximately 15 to 20 milligrams of beta-carotene, an amount that exceeds most other plant sources significantly. Traditional cultures across sub-Saharan Africa, the Pacific Islands, and the Americas relied on sweet potato as a primary caloric staple for centuries. In populations where vitamin A deficiency is a serious public health concern, orange-fleshed sweet potato has been shown in intervention studies to meaningfully improve vitamin A status in children and adults, measurably reducing the incidence of the vitamin A deficiency conditions, including night blindness and increased infection susceptibility. Vitamin A deficiency is the leading cause of preventable blindness worldwide. In industrialized countries, frank deficiency is less common, but subclinical insufficiency, not deficient enough to show clinical symptoms but not optimal for eye function, is far more widespread than most people over 50 realize, particularly in those on low-fat diets that impair fat-soluble vitamin absorption. The orange color of sweet potato flesh is the beta-carotene itself. Deeper orange means more beta-carotene. Bake or roast with butter, coconut oil, or olive oil. The fat is the delivery vehicle for the active compound. Your rhodopsin depends on it. Number 17. Pumpkin, a full-spectrum carotenoid food delivering beta-carotene, lutein, and zeaxanthin simultaneously, with canned plain pumpkin representing one of the most nutritionally concentrated and affordable eye health foods available year-round. Cucurbita pepo. Pumpkin flesh is rich in beta-carotene, lutein, zeaxanthin, and vitamin C, a full spectrum of eye protective compounds in one orange package. Traditional cultures in the Americas used every part of the pumpkin: the seeds for parasites and prostate health, the flesh for nutrition, the flowers as food. The harvest timing in autumn is not coincidental from an ancestral health perspective. After a summer of elevated oxidative stress from light and heat exposure, stocking the body with carotenoid-rich foods before the darker winter months follows the seasonal logic that human biology evolved alongside. Here's the practical note most people miss. Canned plain pumpkin, the unsweetened kind, is one of the most nutritionally dense and convenient eye health foods available. Cooking increases carotenoid bioavailability by breaking down cell walls and making the fat-soluble pigments more accessible. Shelf-stable, inexpensive, and available year-round. Add it to soups, oatmeal, smoothies, and baked goods. Do not wait for October. Your macula needs carotenoids every month, not just during pumpkin season. Number 18. Kale. By most measurements, the highest plant source of lutein and zeaxanthin on Earth, delivering 20 to 23 milligrams per cooked cup, the macular pigment that functions as the sunscreen for your retina and whose depletion over decades is what age-related macular degeneration actually is. Brassica oleracea var. Sabellica. The macula, the small central area of your retina responsible for sharp, detailed vision, is protected by two specific pigments, lutein and zeaxanthin. Think of them as the built-in sunscreen for your eye. They filter out high-energy blue light, neutralize free radicals before they can damage the delicate photoreceptor cells, and maintain the structural integrity of macular tissue. Without them, the macula slowly degrades. Age-related macular degeneration is, at its biochemical root, the progressive depletion of macular pigment over years until central vision begins to fail. Kale is the most reliable and concentrated plant source of both pigments in one food. A single cooked cup delivers approximately 20 to 23 milligrams of lutein and zeaxanthin combined. The AREDS-2 clinical trial, the landmark eye supplementation study, confirmed that lutein and zeaxanthin significantly reduce progression to advanced AMD. The critical preparation note: lutein is fat-soluble and is absorbed poorly from dry preparations. Dress kale with olive oil, cook it in butter or ghee, pair it with avocado. The fat is not optional. It is the delivery vehicle for the pigment that is rebuilding the sunscreen your macula has been losing. Number 19. Spinach, the complete eye support package delivering lutein, zeaxanthin, beta-carotene, and vitamin C in a single leaf. With cooked spinach, concentrating its carotenoid payload dramatically as the leaf volume collapses to a fraction of its raw size. Spinacia oleracea. Spinach is not a lutein source. It is a comprehensive eye support system delivering 4 distinct protective compounds simultaneously: lutein and zeaxanthin for macular pigment, beta-carotene for rhodopsin synthesis, and vitamin C for lens protection and vascular integrity. The beta-carotene converts to vitamin A in the body for rhodopsin, the photopigment in rod cells that enables night vision. The vitamin C concentrates in the aqueous humor to protect the lens from the oxidative stress that develops into cataracts. What makes spinach exceptional is its density when cooked. A pound of raw spinach collapses to approximately 1 cup when wilted, concentrating the full eye protective payload of the entire pound into a single serving. Traditional food cultures across Europe and the Middle East valued spinach as a restorative and strengthening green for centuries. Wilt it into eggs, stir it into soups, blend it into smoothies with nut butter for fat. The goal is consistent daily intake over months and years. Eye protection from food is not a short-term intervention. It is the long-term habit of feeding the tissue that processes everything you see every day. Number 20. Collard greens, the ancestral eye food whose lutein and zeaxanthin content matches and in some measurements exceeds kale. Eaten daily for generations by Southern American food cultures who did not know the biochemistry but observed clearly that the people who ate them consistently were the people who saw clearly. Brassica oleracea var. Viridis. Traditional Southern American food culture, the real original version, before it was stripped of nutritional context, centered collard greens as a daily staple, slow-cooked with bone broth and fat, eaten alongside other nutrient-dense foods, consumed by the bowlful by generations of people, who were unknowingly delivering one of the richest lutein and zeaxanthin sources in the American food tradition to their maculas every single day. Collard greens are often overlooked in favor of kale in modern health conversations, but the lutein and zeaxanthin content is comparable, and in some measurements, higher per serving when cooked. They carry meaningful amounts of vitamin A precursors, vitamin C, and vitamin K alongside the carotenoids. The grandmothers who insisted on their daily collards were not being old-fashioned. They were following a food tradition that had been refined over generations by observation, of who remained vital, who remained clear-eyed, who remained strong. Modern science is simply confirming in molecular detail what those generations demonstrated through practice. Cook them low and slow with a quality fat source. The long cooking breaks down the tough cell walls and dramatically improves carotenoid absorption. Do not rush collard greens. The patience is part of the preparation. 20 plants, each one delivering something your retina has been starving for. The decline in vision that most people accept as inevitable after 50 is largely the result of a diet that stopped delivering the compounds the eye was designed to run on. You can change that, not with a prescription, not with an expensive supplement stack, but with the plants that have been doing this work for as long as humans have had eyes to protect. Start with what surprises you most and build from there. Your macula responds to what you consistently feed it. The science behind that is some of the most well-established nutritional research in existence. For anyone who watched all the way through, the complete practical guides to using plants for your health naturally are in the first pinned comment below with the bonus inside. Use the code FULLVIDEO at checkout for 20% off. The link is pinned whenever you are ready. Hit the like button if this changed how you see the produce section. Drop a comment and tell me which plant surprised you most. Subscribe and ring the bell. I will see you in the next one.